Hi guys, my name's Chima and welcome back to another episode. If you've been following along for the last few weeks, thank you. We're now on week 7 of this, and this segment is basically me just introducing you guys to members of our team. Joining me today is none other than Iqbal Hussain. He is a very, hard-working individual in the office, but he's also sort of the entertainer. So I thought it'd be really, really lovely to have him on here and for you guys to hopefully get to know a bit of the side of Iqbal, or Ix, that we know. So, Iqbal, thanks for being on here.
Thank you for the intro, Tima. Yeah, I think you've kind of introduced me already. I'm Iqbal, one of the property investment brokers here at Flambard Williams.
No problem. Well, Ix, I'm not sure if you've been following on with the guys' episodes, but it's literally just, really informal catch up, a little chat for everybody to get to know you. So I've got quite a few questions here. I always say you can dive as deep or as little as you want to. But yeah, I'm just going to fire away. And yeah, I want you to just be as honest and as brutal as possible, okay?
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right, amazing. So we always like to start off with, your journey and sort of where you began, a little bit of a timeline. So with you, firstly, how long have you been a member of the Flambard Williams team?
It's coming up to a year, actually. Yes, I started last year in May.
Okay.
So yeah, literally a year and a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. It's we're in April, of course.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, gosh. You enjoying it?
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, can't complain.
He's not being paid to say that, by the way. Okay, and have you always been into property, or is Flambard Williams the first sort of property industry sort of company you've been in?
No, yes, I've been in property for a number of years now. So I've done holiday lets. I've sold real estate as well. But in terms of the investment side, this is the first time that I've done it, yeah. So a year later, still here. Yeah.
Okay, what was that like, overseas or UK based?
The holiday lets?
Yeah.
No, just purely UK based, yeah. So covering the whole of the UK. It was more like, we do traditional lets and short-term lets. This was more like cottages in the countryside, beachfront, etc. So yeah.
Okay.
Done that for a number of years.
Sort of.
Yeah, spot on.
Okay.
Cotswolds, Cornwall, Scotland,
That's where
Wales.
family goes. We always sort of try and do annually at the Cotswolds or Lake District because we've got family up there as well.
Yeah, it's busy location for holiday lets.
Yeah, it's true. And then have you sort of decided to cut that, or do you still is your brain still thinking, let me get back into holiday lets?
Not necessarily. Holiday lets was very seasonal. So there was periods where it would be busy and then it would be quiet. So I wanted to get into something where it's busy non-stop, so all year round. That's why I got into real estate. So more selling the high-end luxury properties. But then with that, it's a different market. So you're selling higher products to a different level of clientele.
Yeah.
Whereas with what we do now, it's open to all types of investors.
True.
From starting out to seasoned investors. So it's catering for different types. And that's what I really wanted to do. Not just cater for one clientele, but for all.
I love that. And was that in London, the luxury, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of both. So I'd done it in London and I'd done it in Cheshire. So that's where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my northern accent. So originally from Cheshire, now I live in London. So I've done it in between both, so combination.
Okay, lovely. And I think, I don't know if I'm correct, but I know that you're massive sort of on your cars. We always know every week, guys, there's a new car that Iqbal's got his eye on. And I mean, you're like a knowledgeable car guru. Would you say that the car or the motor industry is something that you dive into, or is it solely now property focused?
Yeah, it's just purely property now. I've done car sales before in the past. Really enjoyed it. With cars, it's a personal passion. I love the, driving them, the different looks, different designs, the power, the speed, the adrenaline. It's more personal. But with property, again, it is personal, but it's very lucrative.
Yep.
So there's different aspects. With cars, it's not as lucrative for me. It's more burning money on fuel, supercars, etc. Whereas properties, it's you could buy into a property and it'll generate you income.
Yeah,
whereas with cars, it's not so much.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I don't know much at all about the car industry. All I know is I've got a dream car. It's a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, and that's purely because it looks really nice. But
you get chauffeured in them cars. That's what them cars are designed for.
Is it not something I could drive?
You could, but because they're like a luxury boss car, you want to be in the back seat, feet up, getting a driver to drive you around. But yeah. But
So
you could drive
an
it, don't get me
additional
wrong.
cost to get a chauffeur if I want that car. Noted.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not complaining. What would you say, Ix, is the biggest difference between, because, well, before I ask this question, that people invest, like you've just said, into multiple different assets, whether it's for personal, passion, or, for an investment. But what would you say is the biggest difference between investing in sort of the motor industry and getting yourself a fleet of cars, or investing in the property industry?
Great question, actually. Yeah, so I think with cars, they're depreciating assets unless you buy something, for example, like a hypercar or a supercar that's not been released yet. You're on the list to buy that car. You could essentially buy it at retail, and then you could flip it once the car's developed.
Okay.
And when you buy something which is 50, 60 grand, it's just losing value year on year.
Okay.
The more mileage you put on, the more value it loses.
Really?
Yes, whereas with houses and, apartments, property in particular, you could buy something and there's always a demand for tenancy. So there's always someone looking to live somewhere. So you're always going to generate income from the property as long as you get it in the right place. But with cars, to actually make some kind of good money, it's more like the classic cars, but that's, your 7-8 figure cars.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I know nothing about it, so I've just learnt something new there. But I'm not planning to buy a fleet of cars, so that's good for me. So, I mean, you love your cars, and
Yes.
I know you love the work that we do. So, do you think you'll stay in the property industry for a long time?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think now that I've found my interest and I'm very dedicated to it, so once I've got my heart on something, that's it. There's no going back. And with property, because there's so much that you can do, and I think the good thing with our job is it's not just UK based that we speak to in terms of clients, it's global.
Yeah.
So we'd speak to like Middle Easterns, Americans, people in Europe,
Every corner of the world, right?
literally like when we went to Saudi. So
Yeah.
it's a big choice of different types of clients that you're speaking to, and I think I enjoy that the most. And because again, I come from a different background. My parents grew up in a different country.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the biggest thing for me.
You're never bored. I'm always learning something new about another corner of the world. Like, you know, I don't know if it's about you, but clients of mine, they will literally recommend me to go to cities in their own country that I've never, ever even heard of. And I'm like, So I'm broadening my knowledge of geography at the minute.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know much about what countries are where. Since being in here, like, I would speak to someone in Dubai, then I'd speak to someone in Saudi, then I'd speak to someone in Greece.
Yeah.
Then it'd go to like Trinidad and Tobago. Then it'd go down to like Mexico. So it's like, it's all over.
Literally. I love it though. You're right. It's really, really exciting. So next question. Have you personally invested in property? Because I know that's obviously, we're always pursuing our clients' portfolios and looking after it. So have you personally done it? If yes, why did you do it? And if no, why not?
Of course, so for the past, I'd say 3 years, I've been investing into buy-to-lets, just because I see it as a retirement for me. So when I get to the age where I literally can't get up and walk,
Hopefully a long time from now.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. So all the investments that I've made through property is going to generate me passive income, so I can live off that. Essentially, I'm not relying on pension.
Yeah.
Where I can see the value what property can do for me. And yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons why I've invested.
I can't imagine you sitting back and being like, you know what, guys, I'm done, no more work, because you're just so driven.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we get to you get to the age where you're like, I'm sort of done, I can't imagine that.
Do you know what? Sometimes I think like that as well. Like, would I ever stop? But the answer is in my head is no. And I feel like I get that trait from my dad.
Yeah.
Like right now, my dad's 68.
Okay.
And he works 7 days a week. Like,
wow.
We can't get him to stop working. And I feel like I've picked up on that trait.
Good on him.
Yeah.
So you've it's a good trait, but it's also you need to sort of know when to step back. So you've got, it's more like a safety net.
Yeah.
That's 100%. your investment, so your safety net. Okay. And moving on to the next question. I don't know if I can say this, if you don't mind, but you're newly married, right?
Yes.
Our industry, Iqbal, is so demanding. It's very lucrative and we love it and it doesn't feel like work. But do you feel, especially now being a new husband, that it takes away from your personal life a little bit?
I'd say it has its pros and cons. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, yeah, it's perfect and all of that. It's not. I feel like there's just finding that balance.
Yep.
Like with my wife, she's very understanding and she knows how hard I work.
Yeah.
So because we do long hours, ultimately I'm working towards our future.
Yes.
So the more work I put in now, the more we can enjoy. But at the same time, you know, we've got our weekends, evenings as well. And there's so much that you can do, but you won't have enough time to do all that. So if you balance it out throughout the years, you've covered quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's very like understanding and she knows my work is my work and, it's the bread and butter. And it's for our future. And
happy wife, happy life. So you earn and you work hard for her, and then obviously she's happy and you're happy.
Yeah, like because she works till she finishes around like 5:30.
Normal hours.
And I'm like 7:30, sometimes even 8, 9. So when I'm finishing work, she'll be at home already. I'll text her, I'm on my way home. She'll be like, yep, dinner's ready.
Yeah.
So I'm like, long day.
It's something that we always sort of joke about in the office, that anyone who's either in a relationship or not, it's probably ideal that their partner is either as understanding as your wife or in the industry that we're in, because I can imagine it can be quite hard to explain to someone like, no, I can't leave work until, and it's not because we're not allowed to, it's just because we'd like to get our checklists sort of done, isn't it?
Exactly. I think it's communication as well, like with any relationship or in general in life. If you can communicate across well, then you'll be fine. Like if I need to be late or I'm running behind, I'll just, quick little WhatsApp.
Yeah, of course.
Running late, or if I need to go into the office early, I'll let her know the night before I need to wake up a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
She'll probably set her alarm for me.
Yeah.
And wake me up, and then she'll probably go back to sleep. But it's just communication.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I mean, for those of you that don't know, me and Iqbal are actually on the same team in the office. So we, even as a team, we have to communicate if, for example, our team leader has set us certain targets or deadlines, and whether we need each other's help or so on. So I completely agree. It's not just on a personal level, but also professional as well. You mentioned in the beginning, we went to Saudi together. Amazing experience. Feels like a blur. Genuinely, just the days went by like that. But one question that I personally got asked a lot whilst being out there, and I'm not sure if it was the same for you, why shouldn't the Middle Eastern in this example, or even clients who are from different countries, why shouldn't they invest in their own developing land? Why are we advising them to sort of diversify across to the UK?
Yeah, we do get that question a lot, especially when we was in Saudi. That question came up a lot. I mean, there's nothing stopping them from investing in their own country. When you look at the UK as a whole, how I see it is, over the last 40 years, there's never been a moment where someone's invested in the right place, in the right property, and not made any money. They have. And I feel like people around the world are seeing that now as well. You look at the currency as well, the pound, you look at the dollar, which is then pegged to the AED. When they drop, pound kind of stays strong always. Yeah. So properties, the rule of thumb, essentially, when you see properties in the UK, every 10 years, they kind of double in value. Whereas over countries like there, it's not. Yeah. But for example, Saudi's an upcoming country. 100%. So there's still so much to do, so many things to be developed, buildings, corporate offices, etc. UK's already there. Yeah. And it's continuing to expand more. Whereas they've not got their base yet as of yet. So there's still a lot of improvements, but they are doing that, but they're making more income in the UK by buying a property and renting it out. And essentially they can use it because people from around the world want to visit the UK. Yeah, of course. So they'll come over when the property's not rented out, they'll use it. Yeah. So yeah, no brainer. And also they get to experience different cities, because I feel like when I was brought up a lot in the Middle East, and anyone that I spoke to from over there, when they think of coming to the UK, it's always London, whereas we're not typically advising London as we've been going over. So if they do have a buy-to-let across the UK, they get to discover a new city, which I always find really exciting. Exactly. Like when we was in Saudi, I had a client who was so adamant on London, just wanted London. Then we spoke about Manchester. Never heard of Manchester before. Really? Yeah, he's bought in Manchester. Now he's coming back and forth and staying in Manchester and like visiting Manchester United football stadium, Trafford Centre, etc. So there's so much more to other cities than London. But people are not aware of it.
I didn't realise that they don't. Some of them have not actually heard of large cities like Manchester, Liverpool.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's like you think of UK, you think of London. You think of America, it's either New York or LA or Washington.
Yeah.
But there's so many like little gems around the city, around the country, sorry, that people are not aware of. But once they know what it is and what's there, it's a game changer for them.
And it's also, I don't know if you remember, but you know, sometimes when we'd have people at the Arabs coming over to our booths and we're speaking to them and the first question is, okay, London. And we say, no, not London. Obviously, we had a big photo of London behind us.
Yeah.
As soon as you mention, if I mentioned a city like Birmingham or Sheffield, them like they would be like, huh? What? And it's so interesting to me. But then I think, flip the script. There are some cities, I'd never been to Riyadh. I knew it existed. But even our tour guide driver, some of the cities he was mentioning, I was brought up in the Middle East for 15 years, never heard of them. So I can imagine there's a lot to learn on both sides, right?
Yeah, literally.
Another one we get asked a lot, and I know it's something that not me and Izzy necessarily, but the guys speak about in the office, is investing in other avenues. Okay, so for example, another one we get asked a lot is if the property market, as we know, is constantly evolving or changing, why not just stick to what they know, those who know Bitcoin, stocks, shares, and so on. I mean, I know you guys in the office, you speak about it a bit.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that?
Well, I mean, speaking on that topic, have you seen the stock market recently?
Yeah.
I was reading over $3 trillion got wiped off the stock market.
Ouch.
I look at crypto, I look at stocks and that as gambling. It's digital money. So you could invest into it. You don't know what it is.
Yep.
And click of a finger, it can literally be wiped.
Yeah.
Now you compare that to property. You've got bricks and mortar. You can physically touch it. You can physically go there, live in it, and use it and utilize it. Whereas with crypto, stocks, etc., it's just digital. And I feel like it's gambling with your money, your hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, don't get me wrong, like if you look at where it was when it first started to what it is now, people that invested right at the beginning, amazing. But people are now investing, let's say, I think it's on like 65k.
Okay.
You buy a coin for 65k, overnight it could go down to 50k or 55k. That's a 10 grand gone. But then again, it could go back up to like 80, 90, 100, but it's a risk.
That's true.
Whereas property, if you get the right property in the right location, the rental demand's always there. Your property will always be filled. So it's not losing your money.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially like with the new, we're not going to talk too much politics, but especially what's happening in America with Trump.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients who have invested in Bitcoin and so on, I find that they are more now than ever coming to me and saying, Tima, listen, we're not going to completely shut down our digital investments, but we want to put more of our funds into UK assets or bricks and mortar. So, yeah, it completely goes in hand with what you're saying. And how much was that they lost?
3 trillion.
3 trillion.
It's like
a lot of zeros.
Yeah, you look at like Elon Musk, Donald Trump.
Yep.
So as soon as their mouth opens, the stocks will either go up or they'll go down. Crypto will go up and down. And it's like, if they get bad press, it'll go down. And it's like you're letting two people dictate what's going on.
Yeah, gosh.
Essentially, really.
Yeah.
So,
but we won't go too deep into that, because I'm sure we can both have a lot to say on that topic. Okay, so a bit of back to you. All right, you're being from up north, Cheshire, you said, right?
Yes.
You've obviously seen the regeneration that's happening in Manchester firsthand, right?
Yes.
So not only you, but I'm sure your family have seen it sort of evolve around you. Would you say, Iqbal, that it's actually making a positive change to the city or not? And if so, how is it?
Great question. Well, so being from Cheshire, I grew up in like Manchester, Cheshire, and I'd go to Liverpool as well because they're like on my doorstep.
Yeah.
And what property's done in Manchester, for example, you look at the developers, you look at why are they putting in millions of pounds into a property all over Manchester if it wasn't beneficial to them. Yeah. There's always, population is growing massively in Manchester.
Yes.
There's always people moving in. And like you can travel from Manchester to London in like 2 hours, 10 minutes. But you look at prices now, property prices. 10 years ago, you could buy a 1-bedroom for 120, 110. Fast forward today, we're selling, 250, 300 plus.
God, if only.
So it's more than doubled.
Yeah.
But then you look at the economy, how much how much money is going into the economy.
Yep.
The Old Trafford Stadium, that's going to now massively soar prices in the Trafford area.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure catching the curve early in the right places. But
Yeah.
again, Manchester, a hotspot.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about Manchester now.
100%.
Those that didn't, do now.
Literally, everyone's like, Manchester, even overseas are like, Manchester. I'm like, yep, Manchester.
Yeah.
So you said that you sold property in London a while ago for sort of a number of years. Would you say that the regeneration that you just mentioned is the reason why you're kind of advising people not to put their money in London, and why we say, no, guys, take it out of London for now?
Yeah, well, I'll give you a prime example. I sold a 1-bedroom apartment in Fitzrovia. So it's like central Londonish.
Yeah, I know.
It was a 380 square foot 1-bedroom apartment on the first floor. Service charge was £12,000 a year, and I sold it for just over £1 million. So once the client bought the property, he wanted to then rent it out.
Yep.
Maximum rent he got on that was £3,500 a month. But he's put £1 million into that property. You look at, let's use Manchester now for an example. Let's say you bought something for £250 at the entry point. You're going to get a rent at least £1,200 to £1,300 minimum. But if you're more in the city,
250k,
yeah, if you're more in the city, then that'll go up more, so like 16, 1700. Now you do the math side by side, it makes so much more sense.
Insane.
London growth rate over the next 5 years, and this is projected by Savills.
Yeah.
17.1% growth in London over the next 5 years. Now, Manchester is no-brainer, 29.4.
Ridiculous.
Just by owning a property in
But
Manchester, that's your bonus in capital appreciation.
Ridiculous. But if that means, if you guys understand that, yeah, it's insane. It's just, sometimes when I hear those stats and those figures again, it literally knocks me back. I'm like, oh my God, but people, if they're going to live in it, they will pay those prices, obviously. But for an investment, yeah, it's just a no-brainer to go up north.
Yeah, if it's a residential, then yeah, like it doesn't really matter where you buy. You know, you'd buy based on the area. You want to be there 24/7, etc. Like a lot of people want to be in London.
Yep.
But now, if you look at the corporate people and the working class professionals, they're all moving out of London.
Yeah.
Like Birmingham as well, another hotspot, 45 minutes on the HS2 when that gets completed.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
More value for money on property. Yeah, so it's a no-brainer.
Definitely. Well, I've got a couple more questions. We're actually close to the end now. Okay, a bit of a light-hearted one. Especially, let's speak of focusing on Manchester. I mean, I know that's your sweet spot. So we preach a lot on buy-to-let city centre apartments. So would you say that houses are a massive no-go in the investment market, or do they perform better in different areas of certain areas of the country?
Great question. And again, this is something that clients ask day in, day out. It goes down to what kind of tenants you want ultimately. I'm not saying no completely to houses, but you look at the rental demand, you look at what type of tenant you want. Like for us, we have a demographic of tenants who we target, and that's your working class professionals that are working within the city. They want like modern, you know, couples or singles. They rent and they'll pay the premium because they're in the city.
Yes.
Whereas you look at houses, it's more targeted towards like families.
Yeah.
But then when you look at a family, you know, if you've got a husband, wife and 2 kids, there's a lot more outgoings per month versus a single occupant or a couple.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have as many outgoings apart from the rent.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately, the question goes down to like what type of tenant do you want in your property, and the rental demand is for city centre apartments.
Yeah, and what type of investment do you want? You know, we always preach that you want a hassle-free investment, and that is just typically someone like us, you know, young working professionals, either married or single, and you just don't really, you know, we're not going to give you a headache as a landlord, because we want to hear as little from you as you do from us. So exactly. I completely agree, of course. All right, last question.
Go for it.
You ready? Now, I know you've got a vision for where you want to be, right? You've really, again, you've built yourself up. We know this firsthand in the office. Iqbal, if you could go back 5 years, what advice would you give yourself? And also, if you could go forward 5 years, where do you hope you'll be?
Wow, okay.
A deep one, right?
I like planning my future, but again, it's so unpredictable of what could happen.
Yep.
In the next 5 years, I'd like to at least have a few more buy-to-lets than what I have now.
Okay.
That are generating me a good amount of income, just through passive income. if I was me right now 5 years ago, I'd say I could get into property investment a lot earlier.
Okay.
When prices on properties were, around that 100 to 150 mark.
Do you think he was ready?
Yes, I was, because back then I was spending a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think he was in that mindset of if you'd gone to him now and said, listen, put your money, do you think he'd listen to you now?
The information and the experience that I've got now, if I did know that back then 100%.
Yeah.
Because like fast forward 5 years, I would have made, like £50,000 just by owning a property.
It's true.
Rather than blowing it.
Yeah.
I was quite just splashing a lot.
Yeah.
I'd buy stuff that I didn't need. But if I actually put that into property and just let the property work for me, then, I'd be making a lot more than what I'm spending.
One thing I'm always curious about, just on that, is imagine, let's take us guys as brokers in the office. Imagine we had each of us as our own client. So if we go back 5 years, imagine you had 5 years ago Iqbal as a client, I had 5 years ago Tima. I wonder how we deal with them. But that's another conversation. But
that would be an interesting one. Yeah,
I'm gonna take that to the office and see. But we're basically wrapping up now. Thanks so much. I've learned something from you, especially about the car industry.
Yes.
I need to rethink my dream car though.
I
don't think I want a chauffeur, but it's been so lovely having you on. Obviously I get to spend a lot of time with you on my team because, so I've got to know you quite a bit, but it's really nice that everyone else has done as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, and thank you again, Tima.
No problem. So guys, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Iqbal a little bit more. We are actually sort of wrapping up this segment of you guys getting to know everybody pretty soon. But don't worry, we've still got a few more episodes. So for now, goodbye.